Why silence becomes precious with age. Have you ever noticed that, as the years pass, you begin to appreciate something you once took for granted? Not money. Not a bigger house. Not more possessions. Something much simpler: silence. When we are young, silence can feel uncomfortable. We fill it with music, television, conversations, notifications, busy schedules, and constant movement. But with age, something changes. The noise that once felt exciting can begin to feel exhausting, and the quiet moments that once seemed empty can become some of the most valuable moments of the day. Maybe you sit alone with a cup of coffee in the morning, watching sunlight enter through the window. Maybe you take a slow walk without headphones. Maybe you turn off the television earlier than usual and simply listen to the sounds of your home. At first, these moments may seem ordinary, but they can carry something deeply meaningful. Because as we grow older, we often discover that a peaceful life is not an empty life. It is a life where we finally have enough space to hear ourselves think. Today, we are going to explore why silence becomes precious with age, what it can teach us about ourselves, and how embracing quiet can make the later chapters of life calmer, healthier, and more meaningful. And perhaps, by the end of this video, you may look at your next quiet morning a little differently. Think back to your younger years. Perhaps you remember crowded restaurants, busy workplaces, family gatherings, parties, sporting events, shopping centers, loud music, traffic, ringing telephones, and conversations happening all around you. There was always something happening, and that was often exactly what you wanted. Being busy could make you feel important. Being surrounded by people could make you feel connected. A full calendar could make you feel productive. But somewhere along the journey, priorities can change. You may begin asking different questions. Instead of, "What else can I accomplish?" you might ask, "What actually matters to me?" Instead of, "How many people know me?" you might ask, "Who truly understands me?" Instead of, "How busy can I stay?" you might ask, "How peaceful can I become?" This shift is not weakness. It is wisdom. With age, many people become less interested, improving themselves, and more interested in protecting their peace. You begin to realize that not every argument deserves an answer. Not every invitation requires a yes. Not every opinion deserves your attention, and not every silence needs to be filled. That is one of the great gifts of growing older. You start understanding the difference between being alone and being lonely. You discover that solitude can be restorative. You discover that quiet can be companionship. And you discover that peace is something worth protecting. Imagine walking into a room where 10 televisions are playing different programs at the same time. One screen shows the news, another shows sports, another plays a movie. Someone is talking on the phone. A radio is playing in the background. Your phone keeps sending notifications. Even if you can technically tolerate the noise, your mind has to work constantly to filter it. Now, imagine turning everything off. The room becomes quiet. Suddenly, you notice things you had forgotten were there. The ticking of a clock, the sound of birds outside, the wind against the window, your own breathing. Silence gives the brain room. And as we get older, that space can become increasingly valuable. Life brings memories, responsibilities, changes, losses, questions, regrets, gratitude, dreams, and sometimes we need quiet simply to process what we have experienced. Think about the number of things an older person may carry inside. Decades of memories. People they have loved. People they have lost. Mistakes they wish they could change. Decisions they are proud of. Places they have visited. Children they have watched grow. Friends who are no longer here. Moments they never expected to experience. All of those experiences create an inner world, and silence gives that inner world a place to breathe. Sometimes you do not need another piece of advice. You do not need another opinion. You do not need another distraction. You simply need a quiet moment to understand what you are feeling. There is something interesting about constant noise. It can make it difficult to recognize your own thoughts. When every moment is filled with information, entertainment, and conversation, you may spend very little time asking yourself what you actually want. Silence changes that. When the outside world becomes quiet, your inner voice becomes easier to hear. You might suddenly realize, I am more tired than I thought. Or, I don't actually enjoy doing that anymore. Or, I should spend more time with this person. Or even, I am happier than I realized. These discoveries can be surprisingly powerful, and they do not require complicated meditation techniques. Sometimes they happen while washing dishes. Sometimes while sitting on a porch. Sometimes during an early morning walk. Sometimes while looking out of a window. The important thing is simply allowing yourself not to be entertained every second. For much of modern life, we have been trained to avoid boredom. If we wait 5 minutes, we reach for the phone. If we sit alone, we turn on the television. If we drive somewhere, we play a podcast. If we eat alone, we watch something. There is nothing inherently wrong with these things. Entertainment can bring joy. Learning can enrich our lives. Music can lift our spirits. But if every quiet moment is immediately filled, we may lose something important. The ability to simply be. When you are young, you may feel pressure to respond to everything. Someone sends a message. You feel you should answer. Someone disagrees with you. You feel you should defend yourself. Someone criticizes you. You feel you need to explain. Someone expects something from you. You feel you need to say yes, but age can teach you something beautiful. You do not have to respond to everything. Sometimes, silence is not avoidance. Sometimes, silence is a boundary. Sometimes it means, I don't want to argue. I don't need to prove myself. I respect your opinion, but I don't need to adopt it. I choose peace over conflict. This can be especially valuable later in life. You may have spent decades taking care of other people, raising children, building a career, supporting a partner, helping relatives, managing responsibilities. solving problems, being the person everyone could depend on. But eventually, you may realize that taking care of yourself matters too. And sometimes, self-care looks surprisingly simple. It looks like saying no. It looks like turning off your phone. It looks like leaving a conversation that has become unnecessarily negative. It looks like sitting quietly in your favorite chair. It looks like enjoying your morning without rushing. Silence can become a declaration. My peace matters too. Age does not automatically make a person wise, but experience can teach lessons that books alone cannot. Over the years, you begin to recognize patterns. You see that many arguments are temporary. Many worries never happen. Many possessions lose their importance. Many things that once seemed urgent eventually become memories, and you begin to understand that attention is one of life's most valuable resources. Where you place your attention matters. If you spend every day listening to anger, outrage, gossip, fear, and negativity, those things can gradually shape the atmosphere of your life. But if you spend more time listening to people you love, nature, music, meaningful conversation, and your own thoughts, life can feel very different. This does not mean ignoring the world. It means choosing carefully what you allow into your mind. Imagine your attention as a small garden. Whatever you repeatedly water tends to grow. If you water resentment, resentment grows. If you water gratitude, gratitude grows. If you water peace, peace grows. There is another reason silence can become precious with age. You might hear an old song and suddenly remember someone from 50 years ago. You might smell fresh bread and remember your childhood kitchen. Member whose voice you can almost hear. Memory has a strange relationship with silence. When life becomes quiet, the past can sometimes become more vivid, and this can be both beautiful and painful. There may also be memories that make you emotional. Perhaps there are things you wish you had said, someone you have shared decades of experiences with, and perhaps this is one of the most beautiful forms of companionship. Not someone who constantly fills the silence, but someone who can share it with you. Part 8. Why quiet mornings can feel so different. There is something special about early morning. Before the phone begins ringing. Before emails arrive. Before the television starts. Before the day's responsibilities begin. There is often a small window of peace. For some older adults, morning becomes a favorite part of the day. The sunlight is gentle. The neighborhood is quiet. The coffee tastes better. Birds begin to sing. And there is no need to rush. You may have spent decades waking up because you had to. A job was waiting. Children needed breakfast. Appointments needed to be kept. Traffic needed to be faced. Bills needed to be paid. Schedules needed to be managed. But later in life, you may finally have mornings that belong more completely to you. Don't underestimate that gift. A peaceful morning is not unproductive. It is part of living. You don't have to turn every hour into an achievement. Sometimes, the achievement is simply appreciating the hour. When life becomes quieter, ordinary things can become extraordinary. A warm cup of tea, a comfortable chair, fresh air through an open window, a walk around the neighborhood, a garden A favorite book, a phone call from someone you love, the sound of rain, a meal prepared slowly, sunlight across the kitchen floor. These things may not look impressive on social media. They may not make headlines. They may not increase your bank account, but they can increase something else. Your appreciation for being alive. Modern culture often tells us that happiness comes from adding more. More possessions, more travel, more entertainment, more experiences, more achievements. But aging can teach a different lesson. Sometimes happiness comes from needing less. Less noise, less drama, less pressure, less comparison, less rushing, less proving, and more appreciation. That is why silence can become precious. Because silence removes distractions and allows simple things to become visible again. This is an important distinction. Choosing silence does not mean cutting yourself off from people. Human connection remains incredibly important throughout life. Call your friends. Visit family. Join a community. Talk to your neighbors. Share stories. Laugh. Ask for help when you need it. Stay curious about other people. Silence should not become a wall. It should become a doorway. A doorway into reflection. A doorway into peace. A doorway into deeper appreciation. If you find yourself becoming isolated because you are afraid of people, afraid of the world, or losing interest in everything you once enjoyed, that is different. Healthy solitude should leave you feeling restored, not trapped. The goal is balance. Connection when you want connection. Silence when you need silence. Conversation when it has meaning. Solitude when your mind needs rest. You do not have to choose one forever. There is a small lesson hidden in silence that can change the way you live. You don't have to fill every empty space. An empty afternoon does not mean you wasted it. An empty calendar does not mean you are unimportant. A quiet room does not mean your life lacks excitement. A day without productivity does not automatically mean a bad day. Sometimes, nothing needs fixing. Nothing needs improving. Nothing needs accomplishing. You can simply exist. For someone who has spent decades working, providing, caring, and solving problems, this can be difficult. You may feel guilty resting. You may think, I should be doing something. But ask yourself, why? Why must every moment produce something? Trees do not apologize for standing still. The ocean does not apologize for moving at its own pace. The sun does not rush through the sky. Nature has rhythms. Perhaps we need them too. Rest is not laziness. Quiet is not emptiness. Slowing down is not failure. Sometimes it is wisdom. Growing older is often presented as a list of things we lose. Strength, speed, certain opportunities, people we love, physical abilities. But aging can also bring things that are difficult to see when we are young. Perspective, patience, discernment, gratitude, self-knowledge, and perhaps the ability to recognize what is truly valuable. When you are young, you may chase noise because noise represents life. When you are older, you may appreciate quiet because quiet allows you to understand life. That is a profound difference. You may no longer need everyone to approve of you. You may no longer feel compelled to win every argument. You may no longer care about impressing people you barely know. You may simply want to wake up feeling peaceful, to have people you love nearby, to enjoy your coffee, to laugh occasionally, to walk outside, to sleep well, to have a clear mind, to have a peaceful heart. And there is nothing small about that. You do not need to move to a cabin in the mountains. You do not need an expensive retreat. You do not need to become a monk. You can begin with 10 quiet minutes. Tomorrow morning, before reaching for your phone, sit somewhere comfortable. Look outside. Take a few slow breaths. Notice the light. Listen to the sounds around you. Don't try to solve your entire life. Just be there. Another day, take a short walk without headphones. Notice the trees, the houses, the sky, the temperature, your footsteps, your breathing, or create a quiet hour in the evening. Turn off the television. Put the phone away. Make a cup of tea. Read a few pages. Write down 3 things you are grateful for. You may be surprised by how different the evening feels. And if 10 minutes feels uncomfortable, that is okay. You are not failing. Your mind has simply become accustomed to stimulation. Give it time. Silence is a skill. And like many skills, it becomes easier with practice. Sometimes, quiet will not feel peaceful. Sometimes, silence makes worries louder. You may think about money, family, health, loss, regret, the future. That does not mean silence is bad. It means you are finally hearing thoughts that were previously covered by noise. When this happens, be gentle with yourself. You do not need to solve everything immediately. Take a breath. Write your thoughts down. Talk to someone you trust. Go for a walk. Pray or reflect if that is meaningful to you. And remember, a thought is not always a fact. A fear is not always a prediction. A regret does not have to become your identity. Sometimes, the mind becomes loud because it needs attention. Give it attention without allowing it to control you. And if persistent sadness, anxiety, or loneliness is making everyday life difficult, reaching out to a doctor, counselor, or trusted professional is a sign of strength, not weakness. Silence can help us listen, but we do not have to face everything alone. Perhaps the deepest reason silence becomes precious with age is this. You understand that time is limited. When you are 20, 10 years can feel like forever. When you are 70, 80, or 90, you may look back and realize how quickly decades passed. And suddenly, wasting time on unnecessary conflict feels less attractive. You begin asking, is this really worth my energy? Do I want to spend today worrying about this? Do I want to carry this resentment into another morning? Would I rather be right, or would I rather be at peace? These questions can change a life, because when time becomes more visible, attention becomes more precious. You realize that every hour spent in anger is an hour you cannot get back. Every beautiful afternoon ignored is gone. Every conversation postponed may never happen. Every quiet morning appreciated becomes a memory. This does not mean living in fear of time. Quite the opposite. It means living with greater appreciation. There is a beautiful freedom in realizing that the later chapters of your life do not need to look like the earlier ones. You do not have to keep the same pace. You do not have to maintain the same ambitions. You do not have to impress the same people. You do not have to chase every new trend. You are allowed to simplify. You are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to choose peace. Perhaps your life today is quieter than it was 20 or 30 years ago. That is not necessarily a problem. Maybe the quiet is telling you something. Maybe it is giving you room to appreciate what you have built. Maybe it is helping you process everything you have experienced. Maybe it is giving you time to finally listen to yourself. And maybe the quiet is not the absence of life. Maybe it is the part of life you can finally hear. Final reflection. So the next time you find yourself sitting alone in a quiet room, don't automatically reach for your phone. Don't assume something is missing. Listen. Listen to the clock. Listen to the birds. Listen to the wind. Listen to your breathing. And perhaps, beneath all of those sounds, listen to yourself. You have lived through seasons that once seemed impossible. You have experienced beginnings and endings. You have probably made mistakes. You have probably surprised yourself. You have loved people. You have lost people. You have changed. And after all those years, perhaps you deserve a little quiet. Not because you have given up on life, but because you have learned what life is worth listening to. Silence becomes precious with age, because we begin to understand that peace is not boring. Peace is a treasure. And perhaps the greatest luxury in the later chapters of life is not having more. It is needing less. Less noise, less conflict, less pressure, less approval, less hurry, and more moments where you can simply sit, breathe, remember, appreciate, and say, "This moment is enough." So today, give yourself permission to enjoy the quiet. Sit by the window. Take your morning walk. Drink your coffee slowly. Call someone you love. Watch the sunset. Turn off the television. Put down the phone. And let the world be quiet for a while. Because sometimes, the older we become, the more clearly we understand something we could not appreciate when we were young. Silence is not empty. Silence is where many of life's most meaningful things finally become audible. And if this message brought you a little peace today, take a moment to share it with someone who might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories, reflections, and life lessons for living a calmer, wiser, and more meaningful life. Until next time, take care of yourself. Slow down when you need to. Protect your peace. And never be afraid of a little silence. Sometimes it has something beautiful to say.